Okay, all I need for this exercise is a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. I'm going to be sketching the Radcliffe Camera as seen from standing on the ground in front of it. So, my perspective is going to be somewhat low. Therefore, I'm going to draw my horizon line somewhat low on my paper. And right in the middle of my horizon, I'm going to put a little X. And this X is going to be my vanishing point. Now from this X, I'm going to lightly draw what looks like a little triangle. But I'm not going to connect it down here. This is going to be the sidewalk that kind of comes out of the front door of the Radcliffe Camera. Then I'm going to draw underneath the horizon, but very wide, another one. On the left, and then also towards the right. These are going to be the two roads that run parallel to the Radcliffe Camera. But because of our perspective, they're going to come towards this vanishing point. Next, I'm going to draw a pretty large ellipse, which is just a circle seen from its side. I'm going to draw it right underneath the X on my paper. This is going to be the bottom or the base of my building. Then I'm going to draw two vertical lines that connect this base. And I'm going to draw another light ellipse that connects those two lines at the top. And I'm not done yet. I've got to draw more ellipses. I'm going to start in the center, just above that one, and I'm going to draw an even wider one that somewhat intersects in the middle of the one below it. And then I'm going to do one more, but this one is going to be smaller than both of those. Next, I'm going to draw a line from my X straight up, parallel to the sides of my building, straight up the center. I'm going to keep going a little ways up. And from there, about halfway above the line up here, make a little dot, and I'm going to make my dome. Draw a line from here, not quite to the edge of my top ellipse. I'm going to try to make it look as even as possible. Then on top of that dome, you're going to draw two lines on either side of the central line. And then you're going to do it again. You're going to make a little dome there, and a little dome, and a little dome there. Okay, you can put a little spire at the top if you like. Now that I have the basic form of the Radcliffe Camera building, I'm actually going to erase some of these distracting lines that we no longer need. So I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to start with the top of this bottom ellipse. I can erase that because that's actually the back of the building, which we don't see. And I can erase any of these lines right in here that are inside the building. Even this long vertical one. You want to make sure you leave the lines outside of the building though, because we will see those. Next, I can erase the bottom line of each of these ellipses. This is kind of tricky because they overlap. So find your ellipse and only erase the bottom lines. So I may need to go back now and connect those parts that weren't supposed to get erased. Just like that. Okay, now we can go ahead and start adding in the details inside the building. So first, I am going to go ahead and draw my door. Now, I'm going to start at the edges of the sidewalk. This is going to be my door. And this door is actually a Roman arch of a door. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to go over what would have been my vanishing point. And then back down to the other side. Okay? Now above this door, there's going to be a little bit of white space, but I'm going to draw a long triangle. This triangle hangs over the door pretty far. So then I'm going to go towards the center. Just like that. And then I'm going to almost make a little house here. Straight down to the bottom to connect these. Very good. Next, I'm going to go ahead and draw the windows and the side doors. Now, to give the impression that our building is wrapping around, is curved, we have to draw these lines slightly downward at an angle. Notice how both of them are going slightly down. Then I'm going to draw a vertical line straight down and a vertical line straight down here. And then we're going to do it one more time, slightly down at an angle and slightly down at an angle. You can already tell that your building is starting to look three-dimensional. Now, above these outer doors, which will be here, there's another triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and make these triangles, but the triangle actually connects at the side of the wall here and then overhangs just a little bit out into space. Same with this side. Now I can draw another line that goes down and kind of connects it there. Now I'm going to draw these two windows here. But again, I need to make my building look like it's curving. So I'm going to start about right here and I'm going to go slightly down this way this time. And then opposite this way. So now they're coming inwards towards the door. And on those two little lines that we just drew, I'm going to make a Roman arch window. Try your best to make them equally height. Then in these last two sections, I'm going to draw the side doors. Okay. Now I'm going to do this next section up here. I'm going to draw a line slightly downwards from the tip of my triangle here to the tip of the triangle here, and then the same on the other side at a slight angle. Now I can go ahead and put in my columns up here. So at the right tip of this big triangle, I'm going to make a dot above it on the lines that we just drew, and a dot above this side as well, because we're going to go straight down to make a line connecting. And we're going to do 4 lines directly next to each other. 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to leave a little bit of space, maybe about a finger width wide. And we're going to do 4 more. This time we're going to leave a little less space because as we wrap around, visually the space looks smaller. So I'm going to do another one. We might only get 2 in here this time. That's okay. Now we're going to do the same thing from this other side. 4 lines going straight down. Little space. 4 more lines. Little space. You might only get 1 or 2. That's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add in the windows that are in between these columns. So first, I'm going to add a little square. And this square is, since we're looking straight at it, it's going to be pretty straight on. Above that, we're going to make a rectangle. And above that, we're going to do a triangle, a wide one. Now, in between each of these columns, we're going to do windows. But notice, because we're curving again, we need to make our windows appear as if they're going around the building. That means we have to draw the top and bottom slightly down at an angle. This one actually has a Roman arch of a window. And then again over here, slightly down at an angle. And this one has another rectangle for an angle for a window. Just like that. And the same thing over here. But we're going slightly down towards the left. The Roman arch. And then slightly down. This one's a rectangle. There we go. Now we're going to go up to the dome, and starting from that central point, the tip of the dome right here, we're going to make some curved lines going to the left. 1, 2, and then we're going to do the same thing to the right. 1, 2. Excellent. Now we pretty much have our building drawn, but we need to add some shading. Shading helps your building to have character, it helps it to have depth and form, and it gives the impression that it's 3-dimensional instead of a flat 2-dimensional shape on a piece of paper. So to do that, we're going to use our pencil or pen. And we're going to go in and we're going to add little sections to areas where we can shade. I'm adding half of an arch to these side windows here. And then on the other side, the same thing, going the other direction. I'm also going to do it for the door, and I'm going to use a technique called cross hatching. for my door. That's where you draw a bunch of parallel lines going in the same direction, and then a bunch of parallel lines going in the opposite direction. Gives the sense that there's some shadow there. Now I'm imagining that the sun is shining at an angle to the left over here and kind of casting a shadow on the right side of the building. So I'm going to add actually a little more shadow here. So it looks as if the door is kind of casting a shadow towards the right of it. And then I can do the same thing with these columns up here, like in between the columns to the right of them. Adding a little bit of shadow gives that impression that the sun is shining on it. You can do this with all of them. But always keep in mind the direction of your shadows, because it's got to be consistent. Kind of speeding through here. Now another thing you can do is take your finger and kind of smudge it a little bit to make it look a little smoother. But I would be careful if you're using a pen, because you don't want it to get messy looking. Do the same thing with these windows. I'm going to add a little border with these windows. And then cast a little bit of light up here, or a little shadow, I mean. I'm going to do the same thing with the dome up here. Maybe using a little bit of that hatching technique. And then also up here, as I get further and further to the right, the shadow becomes larger. Blend that in with my finger a little bit. I'm actually going to do a little bit of hatching on the whole right side of the building, because if the sun is shining on the left side, we want the left to appear like it has the light hitting it and casting the shadow over here. Blend that a little bit if you'd like. And you can always go back and add more details as much as you want. A few extra details. You can go in and do this yourself however you'd like. And add a little window, circular window up here on the dome, and shade that in because it's pretty dark. Shade this side of the dome up here. And there you go. We've got the Radcliffe Camera. And what I always like to do is sign my name down at the bottom so everyone knows that it was my sketch. I hope you enjoyed doing this. Give it a try on your own.